The killing of the second leader of ISIS in 2022. The announcement by the terrorist organization ISIS of the killing of its leader, Abi al-Hussein al-Hashimi al-Qurashi, and the appointment of a new one to be the third leader of the organization in 2022, what analysts considered shakes a shakeup within the organization and morally affects individual. The organization's spokesman, Abu Omar al-Muhajir, said, in an audio recording published by extremist accounts, that al-Qurashi was killed, announcing the appointment of Sheikh Abi al-Hussein al-Husni al-Qurashi as his successor. While the place or date of his death was not specified, the U.S. military said, in a statement, that the operation that led to the killing of the leader of ISIS was carried out by the Free Syrian Army in Daraa Governorate, Syria, without the participation of any U.S. forces. The terrorist organization ISIS announced its leader, Abu al-Hussein al-Hashimi al-Qurashi, through a recorded audio message published online, weeks after the killing of its leader, Abu Ibrahim al-Qurashi, who succeeded Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Crushing blows. Former U.S. President Donald Trump announced the death of the leader of the ISIS organization at the time, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, in a U.S. military operation in Syria, which represented a strong blow to the organization. Last February, U.S. President Joe Biden announced that the Special Operations Forces carried out an attack targeting Abu Ibrahim al-Qurashi, the leader of ISIS, and killed 13 people in a raid on the Syrian city of Idlib. The White House announced the targeting of Maher al-Aql, one of the most prominent figures in ISIS, who worked on building the organization's networks outside Iraq and Syria, before he was killed in an American raid by a drone in northwestern Syria. He is one of the 5 most prominent leaders of ISIS. The expert on extremist groups, Mar Farghali, tells Sky News Arabia, the killing of the leader of ISIS came in internal battles in the city of Daraa with other terrorist groups, and not through an external operation. Extremist groups such as ISIS are strong organizations, and they have their own elements, but they are definitely affected by the killing of leaders. The killing of the leader has a moral effect on individuals, internal divisions, and the expansion of conflicts between the different factions of the organization. A very large shakeup occurs within the body of the organization, but at the same time and according to the current data, it is able to hold together, despite the great administrative shakeup that it will suffer from, but there is a very big cost to them based on the killing of the leader of the organization. The quick announcement of the new leader comes from ISIS jurisprudence and its system of killing allegiance, as the organization considers itself a state and its leader is a caliph, and he must be known, and then the allegiance to the states comes the organization, which took control of large areas in Syria and Iraq, suffered a first defeat in Iraq. Then in Syria, and lost all of its areas of control. However, its hidden members are still launching attacks, albeit limited ones, in the 2 countries, especially against the security forces. The organization also claims attacks in other countries. The writer and researcher specializing in political Islam movements, Mustafa Zahran, the killing of leaders has become a traditional matter and does not affect the organization, neither on the strategic level nor on the level of expansion or spread or even future paths. Terrorist organizations deal with the issue of killing its leadership is natural, but every leader has a dimension in determining the paths of expansion. Al-Baghdadi is different from al-Qurashi, and so on, but the organization will not retreat or disappear. The killing of the organization's leader will not negatively affect its expansion, but rather it will take a period to redraw policies under a new administration, indicating that the organization is on the rise strongly, whether in Africa, Syria, and Iraq, as we have noticed through the recent successive attacks. His death will not mark the end of the organization, as the ideology, planning, organization and strategy remain unaffected, whether by Al-Qaeda or ISIS. Who is the murdered caliph of ISIS? He was one of the surviving first-line leaders of ISIS, and being one of the Iraqi princes he was close to its first leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and he enjoyed great influence even before he took over the leadership of ISIS. the organization announced its installation as a successor to Abu Ibrahim al-Qurashi, 40 days after the killing of the leader of the organization, in a U.S. security operation in Syrian territory, pursuant to his will, according to a message from the organization. Abu al-Hassan, before assuming the leadership of the organization and the Education Bureau, held several positions, including the Emir of the so-called Diwan of Judiciary and Grievances. He also worked in charge of the so-called Emirate of the Central Office for follow-up of Sharia courts.